People have been incredibly supportive and really kind, and I've had messages from people I went to school with, oh God, how old am I? Like 15, 16 years ago, just to say, well done. And it's that they remember me and how much I used to love English and love to write. So they were like, we're not surprised, Emma, which was nice. But yeah, it's just been lovely. It's a dream come true. It really is.
Amos Madra.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I'm joined by author Emma Marns. Emma, a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Emma, you've got a new book out, The Walk.
I have, yes. Not just new, my very first book, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do you feel now that it's out there? It came out on the 25th of July?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's very weird, but it's lovely. People have been incredibly supportive and really kind, and I've had messages from people I went to school with, oh God, how old am I? Like 15, 16 years ago, just to say, well done. And it's that they remember me and how much I used to love English and love to write. So they were like, we're not surprised, Emma, which was nice. But yeah, it's just been lovely. It's a dream come true. It really is.
And it's very different to what you usually do as a journalist and lecturer.
Oh, I'm not a lecturer. I'm just an administrator at university.
Yeah.
I do everything but teach them. But yes, I did used to be a journalist as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So the book itself, it's a fictional book, but it's based on events that actually took place in 1979.
Yes, yeah, very much so. The mother and baby home scandal, I'm afraid to use that word, was prevalent through most of the 20th century in Ireland. My book runs from 1979 until 2012. The last of these homes closed in 1997, 1998. So it is actually quite recent history. I mean, they opened, in the 20s, or I think maybe even a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, it did span a long time, but the book picks up in the late 70s.
Yeah, and you talk about the scandal, you only need to put the TV on. And currently, this is a very current issue because governments in Scotland, in Wales have all apologised. It's just the UK government that, the public are waiting for them to apologise for their hand in this scandal.
Yeah, aren't we? Don't we feel like we're just often waiting for an apology from the UK government for various things? Am I allowed to say? But yes, the investigations have been going on for about 5 years now. The Irish Times and various Irish establishments have reported on it. The Irish Prime Minister, and I can't pronounce the word, so I'm not going to try, but the equivalent of the Irish Prime Minister has issued an apology for it. And what I thought was most amazing in my research, I found this, the mayor of County Cork, I think she's still the mayor, Mary, oh, I can't remember how to say her name. But anyway, she was born in Bessborough, which is the home that my book focuses on and talks about, and she issued an apology of her own to the people of County Cork for that particular home, and it was remarkable that she was born there.
Now, the two main characters, I'll let you pronounce the names. Offend anyone with that same name. So talk to us about their stories, because it was a similar situation, but they both went into different directions.
They do. So Alva is Alva and Mari are the way I pronounce those names. But I've had a couple of Irish readers say, do you pronounce it like this? My friend was called that, and she says it differently, but Alva and Mari. They are both young, unmarried, and pregnant. And that is the premise of the whole book, is that this terrible tragedy, as it was considered, this abomination, unmarried pregnant women, was a crime worse than murder, is how it was phrased on the blurb of the book. Alva is sent to Bessborough, to one of these homes where women in her situation, and young girls, even, I say women, but very, very young girls would often go there as well, to be, I say looked after, but to be kept for the duration of her pregnancy and for her birth. And Mari is sent off to live with the family of what turns out to be her married lover. And none of this is spoilers. This all happens in the first few chapters. But yes, so two very different situations, but the outcome is ultimately the same, is that they don't get to keep their babies. And that was the reality for thousands of women in Ireland during this time, with these institutions and all of these rules and societal judgments about unwed mothers.
Yeah, really interesting. And the title itself, why did you call it The Walk?
Oh, the walk. So I did a great deal of research to write the book, and I read a memoir by June Goulding, who was a midwife at Bessborough in the 50s, and she described this horrendous, I thought it was horrendous practice, where the mothers who have had the babies would not really be given any notice, but they'd be told to go and collect their child from the nursery that was on site at Bessborough where the children were raised. They would have to go and get their child, and they would make them walk up this long corridor of the house, from the back of the house right up to the front door where the adoptive parents would be waiting, and they would have to just hand their child over to them, and the door would be shut, and they would never see that child again. They were forced to sign dispensations that said they consented to these adoptions when they really didn't. And those documents also said, they had a clause within them that the women were not allowed to try and track those children down later in life. So the book is called The Walk primarily on that. But as I was writing it, I started thinking about that word, and not just like going for a walk in the traditional sense, but the walks we take through life, and the big walks in life that are significant, like the walk down the aisle, for instance. That appears as a theme because obviously they were not married. That was a walk they never got to make, or they weren't. They didn't marry the fathers of their babies, is what I mean to say. And I just thought it was in sort of tribute to what those women went through to call it that.
Yeah, and you think about all this happened just recently. 1979 wasn't that far away.
No.
And for one of the homes to have just closed as recent as 2012, what is it with us as humans that we can be so cruel to one another and to put ourselves through such inhumane tortures, and just to do that?
It's shocking. I'm not sure that one closed as recently as 2012. The book runs to 2012, sorry, but the home closed in 1998. I think that was the last one. So not quite as recently as that, but still pretty recently. I'm not an old woman, and I was 7 in 1998. So, but yeah, it is amazing how dreadful human beings can be to one another in the name of what was considered to be kindness and charity. I'm a Catholic, and I'm happy to be one. I came to the faith late. I wasn't, indoctrinated as a child or anything like that. But I think anywhere where there's a power structure, there is unfortunately room for abuse, I would say. And it's not specific to the Catholic Church. It's not specific to any Christian faith. It's not specific to any faith at all. And it's also not specific to faith either, I would say, in politics, in families, in anything, workplaces. We've all seen it. Whenever someone is elevated above another person, there exists within that a potential for condemnation, I suppose, which is where it has where it come from. And I read a play. Oh, what was it now? When I was back at school, it was The Duchess of Malfi, I think. And there's a quote in it that says, "Families will do to each other worse than strangers ever would," which, or some such. It was a long time ago. I'm very tired. I had a baby last year. But it was, something like that. And it really makes me think that actually maybe the closer people are, the worse it can be. And you do actually see that some of the women that passed through these homes were there because of abuse from family members as well, which is just awful to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, again, really good for you to highlight and share these stories. Now, this is something that, was very foreign, very far from your own life. Why did you take up the story? Why did you choose to write about these two Irish women?
I was living in Ireland at the time. I've had this very weird obsession with Ireland since I was quite young. I vaguely remember the Good Friday Agreement. Like I say, it was about that time, was it 1998? I was very little, and I remember seeing stuff on the TV about it, and looking at my dad, who knows everything about everything, and was like, "Dad, explain." And he said, "Can't, nope." And he used to play the Cause a lot, and I loved all the Irish music and stuff. And then as I did my A levels, some Irish writers appeared on the syllabus, and I just fell in love with it, and that gradually sort of ended up in an MPhil at Trinity College in Dublin in Irish writing. So I was there. I was 27, 28. I was quite mature to be studying still, but I was there, and I had this wonderful Irish landlady called Evelyn, and I was awake one night, and I happened to happen across this article by Deirdre Finnerty on the BBC called "The Girls of Bessborough," and I read about this situation, and I just couldn't believe what I was reading, and also that it was so. I sort of felt like somewhere in my mind I must have known about this, but also how are people not talking about this every day, like at the bus stop? It's dreadful. So I went next door later on in the day to meet with my landlady, and I asked her about it, and she confirmed. She was like, yes, we all know about it. It's very, very terrible. And then she told me another story, not her, but someone that she knows, that had a similar sort of route that Mari does in the book. And something happened to me. I can't explain it, Amos. Something happened to me. I was sat at that table, and all the little cogs in my brain that had been gathering dust for decades just started to turn, and I was like, this is it. This is the book that I've always wanted to write. I've been waiting for inspiration my whole life for something to write about, and I just saw it clear as day. Two women, one goes this way, the other goes this way. The outcome is the same. What happens to them? What happens to the children? What does life look like when you've gone through something like this? And it just exploded in my brain, and that was it. And here we are.
Amazing. Would you want this book to be adapted into a film or series, or?
Oh, I would love. I've already got the cast list in my brain. It's been there for about a year. Yeah, I would love it. I think that people are becoming a lot more interested in Ireland, or just a little bit more sort of realizing how much and this is not to say anything particularly about any government or education process or whatever, but the lack of Irish history that's taught in this country is insane. I mean, there's none, absolutely none. And when I went to do this master's degree, I was kind of saying, we don't get taught anything. We don't get told anything about, and this is, it's British involvement in that island's history. We should know, and we don't, and they keep it. And it was genuinely shocking. So I think things like, I feel like Derry Girls. Have you seen Derry Girls? It's the best. That has done more to educate people on the Troubles and the Good Friday Agreement than anything that has ever been taught, as far as I know, at any school. It was incredible. And if someone could take this little book that I've written and turn it into something as meaningful as that educates people, it would be amazing. I would love it. Yeah.
Talk to us about that release date on the 25th. How were the nerves?
Yeah, it was all right. Actually, so it was available for pre-order for a long time, and for some reason, Waterstones, God bless them, and Amazon went a little bit early. So my phone went ballistic over the weekend, a couple of days before, with people going, "I've had an email dispatching my book." So a few people had already had it, but it was just lovely. I took a couple of days off work just to sit and be glued to social media, which I hate under normal circumstances, but we'll do it. But it was lovely. I had cards, some friends sent flowers, which was just lovely. Very, very thoughtful. But it was, yeah, it was odd to get there at last, I suppose. I feel like this had been, it took me 9 months to write this book. It took me 2.5 years to find a publisher, and then it took 7 months for the publisher to release it. So it was an incredibly long journey. But I think the moment when I got the box of my author copies was the big moment. That was a few days before, and I opened this box, and there they were, like these books with my name on. And I'm thinking, did I do that? Like, did I write this book? Oh, yes, I did. And it's just been joyous. It's been lovely, and I'm so blessed to have such lovely people around who have been so excited about this for so long. It was their victory as well as mine. My long-suffering husband, who's listened to me wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, darling, I've had an idea. And he's like, oh, okay, write it down. We'll talk about it in the morning. Bless his heart. Yeah.
Incredible. And, again, just going back to your own personal life, there's been so many changes. Congratulations on the recent birth of your daughter.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
And yeah, there's just so many things going on. How do you fit everything in, and how do you find that time to do everything?
I have a really good coffee machine. If I'm honest. So I feel very obligated to point out that I wrote the book long before I had my child, because everyone keeps saying that to me, like, oh my God, you just had a baby. I'm like, no, 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 no. The book was written before. I do not know how, and I commend and congratulate working mothers for everything that they achieve, because it is so difficult. But I have great employment at the University of Essex. Highly recommend them as an employer. They are extremely flexible and understanding. I think it helps. I work alone in this office. Nobody really bothers me apart from the odd knock at the door. Can I have a stapler, please? So I'm kind of left to just crack on. I have a very supportive husband who enjoys computer games, so he's quite happy to just let me crack on because he's busy doing the things. But yeah, having Melody's been amazing. The change in my brain is extraordinary since becoming a mum. You hear all these cliches like, oh, you'll never be the same and life will never be the same, and they grow so fast and all of this stuff. And it's all true. You kind of nod along when you're pregnant going, yeah, okay, it's all true. It's amazing. But there's something just happens to my brain where it's like, we can do that. Of course we can do that. And it's done. And we go and we do the next thing. And then she's awake from her nap and we play and we sing songs, and then we cook dinner, and then we think about things. It just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I think it comes mostly from the coffee machine. I think that's the primary thing that I would recommend. Good multivitamin as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely the coffee machine has to have a place. So, of course, this book is now out and, looking forward again into the future. Could we expect more books, more novels coming from you?
Oh, I hope so. I would love to write another, but how exactly with my little one? Maybe when she starts not getting up at 10 to 5 in the morning like she did today, I might have a little bit more space in my brain. But I feel very strongly that I want to wait for something like this to come along again. I don't just want to sit down and come up with, just anything, something, and try and churn it out. Like the way this happened was incredibly meaningful, and I would be happy to wait for something as equally meaningful. Probably not the same subject, but I think I like human interest stuff. I did used to be a journalist, so I like researching things, and I research this enormously. And I think it would probably be something similar again, something historical, something that requires a lot of research. But also, I like people. I like looking at people and writing people and thinking about how people feel. So yes, I would. Yes, to answer your question, I would love to, but it might be a while.
As a creative, is that how the inspiration comes through being very intentional, doing the research and looking into these stories and writing from there?
It did for me. I guess there must be people out there who just, have notepads for. I've read about them. They're all on Twitter. They have notepads full of ideas for books and short stories and stuff. And I just don't. And this was what worried me a lot about wanting to be I think this is why I became a journalist. I wanted to write. I so desperately wanted to create written word, but I didn't feel like I had an idea for that big project. It never came. So people brought the stories to me. Or can you write 500 words about this? Can you write up a match report? Yes, of course we can do that. What I was waiting for was the thing that was going to be mine and only mine. And I'm the only person I know from apart from the people I did the course with, obviously, that was so obsessed with Irish writing that they just had to leave everything and move to Dublin and sell their house and to pay the course fees and go and do this thing. And something inside of me must have known that that's where the story was, but I didn't know until I got there. So I don't know what the next thing will be that I do that brings on the next story, if there ever is another. But I don't have notebooks full of ideas. I wish I did, but I don't. So I'll probably just read something in the newspaper or whatever, and maybe that will be the next big brain explosion.
And the book, as we said, was already released. It came out on the 25th of July.
Yep.
It's available on Amazon, Waterstones, pretty much every bookshop.
Yeah. It's been lovely. So you can get it all over the world from Amazon. You can get it in Waterstones. You can get it in WH Smith's, Foyles, Barnes and Noble. I think have it in the US. and oh, someone was added recently. Who was it? Blackwell's. Blackwell's have got it. And if you happen to, this goes out in Manchester, I know, but if by some bizarre coincidence of fate you are in a very small village called Wivenhoe in Colchester, I know for a fact that their tiny independent bookshop, which is amazing, by the way, is also selling it.
There you go.
Yeah.
People can get hold of it.
Yeah.
And of course, people can connect with you. You're on social media, Twitter. Do we call it that now, or X?
I don't know, isn't it? So I missed the bird. I liked the bird. But yes, I have a Facebook page, Emma Marns Author. I'm on Twitter, Emma Marns. I have an Instagram, Emma Marns Author. I have a little website, just a WordPress freebie, but I think it works. Emma Marns Writes, I think it is. But yes, you can find me basically everywhere. Yeah.
We'll put all the
and
links
I hope you
there.
do.
We'll put the links there. Wow, Emma, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank
you so much for talking to us, sharing your journey, sharing this wonderful book, The Walk, which is available now. Thank you so much again for your time, Emma.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to speak to you. Thank you.
If you want some amazing inspiration, check out the videos next to me, and I'll see you right there.